So it's been a couple weeks. It's been a couple weeks. It has, but let me explain. When I posted that last video, it had only been a week since I had gone to dinner. So basically, it was very fresh and I needed some time to process everything that had happened. I needed to process my own feelings. I just needed to figure shit out. Last video, I told you guys about how I met two guys at the sool-bungae speed dating situation. One of them being VetTech guy and the other guy being Love Shot guy. We all went to the club together after the sool-bungae and we basically went our separate ways. Now look, when you hang out with people for the first time, you'll have a great time, but then at the end of the day, you'll be like, oh yeah, that was so much fun, let's do it again sometime. But in reality, there is really no next time. And honestly, that's what I thought that this situation was. I thought it was a one-time great experience, and I didn't really have the expectation of meeting either of them again. But surely enough, a few days later, VetTech guy messages me and is like, what are you doing? And I was like, I'm just home. What's up? And he was like, oh, do you mind if I come over? And I was like, what's up? Is something up? He's like, no, I just wanted to come over, meet Kano, and have a chat with you. And I was like, yeah, sure, you're more than welcome to come over. I was a little flustered, I'm gonna be honest, because this never happens. But nevertheless, I was really happy because I always wanted a gay neighborhood friend. And that's what we became. Gay neighborhood friends. He would come over, he would buy beers, we would gossip, we would talk about our horrible dates that we went on. We literally just had so many fun conversations together, and he ended up kind of filling that void of loneliness that I always had. To the point that I didn't feel as desperate to find a boyfriend anymore because I felt like I found a genuine friend. He does have a boyfriend now, so please stop shipping us. So the funny thing is, VetTech's boyfriend actually found my sool-bungae YouTube video, and he was like, hey, is this the guy you were talking about, your gay neighborhood friend? Yeah, small world. The algorithm is just pushing my video out in random places that I don't want it to be. But if you're watching, hi. Anyways, VetTech guy comes over and he asks me a simple question of, have you talked to Love Shot guy at all? And I said, no, I have not talked to Love Shot guy since the day we all went clubbing together. And VetTech guy was like, oh, okay, yeah, I just asked because I thought that you two had something going on and I was just wondering if there was any progress in your relationship. And I was like, well, you're not wrong. I did like him. I just didn't ask him out. And VetTech guy was like, why not? I basically told him that I thought that Love Shot guy was a little bit too out of my league. I'm pretty sure he has a bunch of different guys DMing him and messaging him. I just felt that it was unnecessary to ask him out when I already know that he was going to reject me. And VetTech guy just kind of stared at me and was like, I think you have a problem. I think you have a self-esteem problem. And I was like, you're not wrong. And then VetTech guy eventually just went on this whole entire rant telling me that I need to ask Love Shot guy out because I'm not talking to him anyways, and by asking him out, I'm not really losing anything because the worst case scenario, Love Shot guy says no, and I just go back to not talking to him. So he was like, literally, what do you have to lose? And I was like, with that logic, I kind of feel obligated to message him. And he was like, message him right now. And that's what I did. I picked up my phone and I was just like, hey, hi, Love Shot guy. I'm with VetTech guy and we were just talking about you. And he responded immediately. He was like, oh, I hope you're not talking trash about me, LOL. And that's how I finally began talking to Love Shot guy. Now a few days pass. It's my birthday. I'm in Tokyo, and I get a message from Love Shot guy that says, happy birthday, we should get dinner when you come back. And I was excited, although I was still suspicious on whether this was like a dinner or dinner date, but it didn't really matter because I really just wanted to get closer to Love Shot guy and see what kind of guy he is. Now let me take a little bit of a tangent and tell you about my type. I'm an INFP. I'm an introvert and I'm an overthinker. That's why when looking for another partner, I always look for someone who can kind of balance me out. Has some similarities, but is also very different. That's why I was looking for an E. But I really wanted an E that knows how to F. Wait, F as in feeling, right? Or both. Okay, yeah, I don't get. So basically what I'm trying to say is that I wanted an extrovert who was in tune with his feelings, right? That's like my ideal type. And if I'm being completely honest, when I looked at Love Shot Guy, from what I saw at the sool-bungae speed dating place and from the club, he was very introverted. Almost to the point that I thought he was a little bit boring compared to the other guys. So that might have been another reason why I hadn't contacted him. I was just like, okay, we're gonna meet, it's gonna be awkward, and yeah, it's just gonna be over. But to my surprise, on the day of the dinner, he takes initiative and he was like, oh, so do you like Korean food? There's this Korean place I know that I'll take you. And I was like, oh, that sounds great. I get there, we start talking, and our conversation is flowing like honey. I don't know how else to explain it. It was just so smooth and natural, and it just didn't stop. We basically went from dinner to coffee and dessert. We talked for like 4 hours straight. The conversation just felt so natural, and the best part was I didn't feel drained at all at the end of the day. Like, usually when I talk to extroverts, after everything ends, I feel a little bit drained and I need to go back into my shell. But when I was talking to him, an introvert, I felt perfectly at peace, and I could have continued the conversation maybe another 4 hours. But this was also what I was scared of. I knew that if our date went a little too well, I was gonna fall, like really hard. And basically that's what happened. At the end of dinner, I was completely infatuated with him, and I had no idea how he felt about me. And the unfortunate part was I sent a few more messages and our conversation basically came to a halt. Yeah, he was not making the effort to really message me back as much, and there was only so much that I could do to take the initiative and keep the conversation going. I was on the brink of giving up until it was basically Christmas Eve, and I decided to give it one last shot, and I just said, "Merry Christmas Eve, are you doing anything fun tonight?" And he replied, he said, "I am going to another sool-bungae." Now this is probably where I should have drawn the line. But when you're in love, you self-sabotage. And that's exactly what I did. I said, hey, if you're gonna go there alone, take me with you. Now in my mind, this all makes sense because I know that he's not interested in me enough to take initiative to ask me out again. But maybe if he gets to know me better, I might have a better chance at having a relationship with him. Whether that means a friend relationship or a romantic relationship, at this point I really didn't care. I just wanted to find any excuse to keep him in my life somehow. So I know a lot of you guys are probably rolling your eyes and disagreeing with my choice. However, you know what? I'm already too deep into this. I know it's a slippery slope, but honestly, it's gonna take at least 3 months to get over him, and I might as well try to get everything out of my system as fast as I can if it's not gonna work out anyways. At least that's my logic. So I told him that we should get dinner before the sool-bungae because at the sool-bungae we're not gonna really get a chance to talk. And the point of this whole thing was not for me to meet someone new at the sool-bungae, it was literally to get closer to him. We had like an hour dinner and our conversations, as usual, was flawless, was great, amazing. But then all of a sudden he was talking about the guys that he dated recently, and then that really didn't make me feel good. We go into the sool-bungae, I see him taking another love shot with a few more people, it did not feel good. And because it was Christmas Eve, they were playing more special games where the loser has to kiss the person they like. And I found a lot of people taking love shots with him, kissing him on the cheek, and it really didn't feel good. So naturally, I was staying pretty quiet for most of my meetings. And I remember I don't even know if I should share this part. There was a table and they noticed that I was being too quiet and I naturally lost one of my games. And basically the guy who was in charge of my penalty, he was not happy that I was not participating. So he looked at me. He was pissed drunk, by the way. He said, "Your penalty is to moan in front of everyone like you're having sex." Excuse me? Like, that was such a weird, perverted, inappropriate penalty, and I probably should have brushed it off like a normal person, but then I really didn't have time to think. Next thing I know, he's counting down 3, 2, 1, and I had to think on my toes. I'm not gonna moan. What am I gonna do? So I do the next best thing, which is and that's not even the worst part. The worst part is the fact that they did not understand what was going on. No one laughed at my joke, and they were just staring at me. And then one of them was like, "Oh, you're choking because you like that." And I was like, I think I want to disappear. But on the bright side, after everything ended, we were exhausted. I met up with Love Shot Guy again outside, and he decides to throw me some random curveballs, and it's like, "Oh my gosh, I really didn't think I'd get so close to you. I don't know about you, but I really feel like I've opened up to you now." And I was like, oh, thank you. He's like, "Yeah, we should hang out more." And I was like, "Oh yeah, definitely." And then he randomly asked me whether it'd be okay for him to visit me in Incheon. And I was like, "Okay, you can, but my place is pretty far from where you live. It's gonna be like a 2-hour ride." And he was like, "Oh yeah, it's okay. I'll just come to your place after work and I can just sleep over." Just like that, you know? Just sleep over. Keep it casual. So yeah. Now, I am mentally and emotionally going a little bit insane because I don't know what's happening. I don't know who I am anymore. I've made a mess of myself. I guess this is the price of putting yourself out there. Was it worth it? All things considered, I think so. But I have suffered enough.